All righty, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the Red, White, Claret, and Blue Show with your hosts, myself, Alex Paquero, and Chris Communist Condit, your American villain voices, as always, serving up the lukewarmest of lukewarm opinions. Go follow, like, rate, review, subscribe, all the things. We're going to get into the show in a second. Chris, tell the people what you just told me happens in your wife's family's household on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so instead of watching football like most Americans after
Any kind of football, by the way, our football or European football.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but let's be real. Most Americans watch the Lions play, the Cowboys play, and then there's a terrible night game now. And you usually just have that on in the background. So instead of watching football, my wife's family watches Christmas movies after the Thanksgiving Day parade. Shout out Big Walt, because I know he'll be listening to this one. So
shout out Big Walt. This pisses me off to no end, Chris.
Don't take it up with me.
Fall is the best season. It's got the best flavors. It's got the best colors, best fashion. And Thanksgiving is the peak of all holidays. And to completely subsume Thanksgiving into BS smarmy Christmas movies is absurd. It's absurd. Honestly, it's serial killer behavior. I can't abide by it. I feel like the last couple recordings, Bridget has had some questionable takes that have kind of made me question the previous reverence that I had for her. But oh my God, this is forget not liking Morgan Rogers' free kick. This is the nail in the coffin for me. I can't stand this. As you know, I cook Thanksgiving meal. I couldn't wait to cook Thanksgiving meal for my whole family. And my God, if I had to listen to stupid Buddy the Elf in the background, I would lose my goddamn mind. That will not be happening in our household. We will have both footballs on in the background while I'm smoking that turkey and making some of our sides and our signature cocktails. My God, don't ever invite me over to your household for Thanksgiving. I'm not going.
Don't worry about that, because we don't spend it, at our house. So you don't need to worry about that.
This is me being lukewarm, by the way, on how I feel about what you just told me.
But I mean, the other thing is that Bridge was really unimpressed with Morgan Rogers' free kick. Her exact words were, "He didn't even kick it that hard," and she is not wrong about that. And also, she's packing up for the children right now, so I'm not going to complain too loudly about her family's Thanksgiving takes, because I'm not doing that. I packed up my stuff, and she's packing up the kids.
Good for you.
Which is really the bulk of the packing.
Well, while she packs, let's unpack what was an interesting game against Leeds United on Sunday morning, Chris. One of which honestly is becoming Villa's day now, the Sunday morning kickoff. Mm-hmm. So, Chris, Amadou Onana is injured again. We got our little 4-week blip of some good play out of him, and now he's out again. How long do we think he'll be out this time?
Well, I think probably through the festive period, if we're being honest. It tends to seem to be his length of time. And I gather that he picked up a knock in the international break with Belgium, but I didn't see anything more than that. It's disappointing, because every single time that he seems to get things going and starts playing really well, he picks up some sort of injury that shelves him for a couple of weeks. So I don't actually know if it's going to be through the festive period, but that would be about a month, which is probably about how long it's going to be, so I expect he'll be back in 2026.
Yeah, there were some rumors that he failed a late fitness test before the match, which would probably lead some to believe that he'll be back sooner rather than later. And yet, I don't know, man. With him, it feels like every time it's a slight knock or something, it turns into somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks. And it sucks, because he's an incredibly good player and was starting to really pick up some form for us and become part of a fairly imposing midfield with Boubacar Kamara there. So Thankfully, we have Yori back. Gave us some good
Yep.
minutes. I won't necessarily say he played phenomenally, but gave us some good minutes. At least defensively was his usual self, intercepting, tackling, all that kind of stuff. So he was back in. What'd you, let's just go straight to him. What'd you think about his performance?
I mean, I thought it wasn't his best, but he's not been healthy for a little bit here, and I will give credit to Leeds. Their press, particularly in the first half, was pretty relentless, and they were effective in making the Villa midfield and everybody in general, but mostly that midfield, whether it was the attacking three midfielders or the double pivot. Everybody seemed uncomfortable on the ball. Everybody seemed to tick off when they tried to make a pass. So it wasn't his best day, but it's good to have him back out there. And I think that in time he'll return to the player that we know and love. I don't think that's any question. So I thought he had a tough day, particularly in the first half, but that was pretty on par with how everybody else played in the first half too.
Yeah, talk about slow starts. And by the way, I think let's start at the upfront by saying going into this match, had we done a preview, and obviously we didn't because I was in London and time zones didn't necessarily sync up. So apologies to everyone for that. But we probably would have said that we were expecting this to be an easy match, or at least that's probably what was kind of out in the Villarati Twitter sphere, because Leeds have not been good over their last five. They actually had a decent start to the year, but not good over their last five, up from the championship. Daniel Fark, who hasn't really done much as a Premier League manager, is obviously managing them now.
They're mad at him, boy.
Yeah. I did hear on the broadcast, though, that they've actually only lost one of their last 25 matches at home. So Ellen Road continues to be a difficult place to go. Villa, obviously, much better at Villa Park than they have been away from home. So, probably should have expected this to be a little bit more difficult. And yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Leeds pressed so ferociously, so relentlessly in the first half. And we know Villa comes out of the gate slow. The first half is not Villa's half. So those two things compounded to create quite a frustrating watch for 45 minutes. What probably will surprise no one, which is shocking to say, Villa did not have a shot on target in the first half once again. And unfortunately, in this case, they were really punished for it. 6th minute. Chris, why don't you talk about what you saw in this goal?
Well, so I think the biggest thing about this goal that we want to talk about first is that Martinez needs to deal with that much better before you get into any of the other stuff. And there was other stuff. But before you get into that, Martinez needs to deal with it better. Look, man, he's a world-class goalkeeper. I'm not. So I understand that when I'm saying this, but I don't know why he was trying to possess the ball there. Like he was going up to catch when the obvious thing seems to be to go to punch and just clear that ball out. There was a nudge in there. I don't think it was enough for a foul. It could have been, had it been given a foul, it would have stayed probably a foul, but it wasn't, and I was fine with that. But the bigger thing is that he just has to be stronger and better in that situation. And it was a mistake on Martinez's part to allow that ball to drop. And I'll also couch that by saying I thought outside of that moment, Martinez actually played extremely well in the game against Leeds. So he had a bad moment there that led to a goal. Then there was the offside fiasco and the second offside fiasco that didn't even get looked at, and fiasco only in part because of how the rules were implemented, and there's just no consistency to it. But in terms of what Villa need to do better, Martinez has to deal with that ball better. That's it. That fixes that entire situation for me.
Yeah. I think two things can be true in this one. by letter of the law, and you tweeted this out from our show account, we've seen the stills all over Twitter. It would seem that something in the system where they were drawing the lines to determine onside or offsides was incorrectly applied, right? And the first guy, both of them, I guess, would theoretically be offsides, as you like to say, legislation of a toenail.
Right.
That
So
can
I
be
want to
true.
say, I
Hold on.
I am good with that being a good goal. I'm good with it being a good goal, but it's not all
Yes.
the time. That's the thing.
Yes, and you and I will continue to bang the drum on consistency and refereeing and all that kind of stuff. If you want to legislate toenails all across the board. I think you and I are both fine with that goal because we are proponents of kind of like the daylight live speed ruling of this. You watch it at live speed. If he's offsides, call it. If not, then like let the call stand. Um, by the letter of the law, though, the way that the law is applied right now, theoretically, both of those guys should have been called offsides. That being said, I'm also okay with this being a called a goal against Villa because Villa performed so horribly in so many aspects of this free kick that they deserve to be punished for it, no matter what the law says. I mean, you got to deal with that first ball. And yes, it was a good ball, but like someone's got to get on that to then have it pop all the way up like that and basically have the two people challenging for it be Leeds United defenders. No Villa guy is within a yard of challenging for that ball other than Emi Martinez. So you let them win the first ball, which you shouldn't. You let them win the second ball, which you shouldn't. And then you fire it right off the guy standing 3 feet in front of the goal for what ostensibly in my mind amounts to an own goal. You have Emi Martinez's weakness in the middle of all of that. Like those mistakes Villa deserve to be punished for. And so what I spin in on top of this, Chris, is I wonder if you noticed the same thing. I felt like every free kick Leeds got had a dangerous ball that Villa either weren't the first to it or it sailed really far through the box, seemingly begging for someone to come in and strike it. It seemed like Villa were unable to deal with any sort of set piece throughout all 90 minutes of that game,
So
really.
I did see some of that, and we have to credit Leeds because they did put some really nice balls in like that. There is that aspect of it when another team executes very well, that that can just be that they executed very well. Now, I think there's a reason. Part of the reason that maybe Villa didn't deal with the set pieces as well is when you don't have Tyrone Mings out there, that is really his specialty in terms of controlling the middle of the box and playing balls in the air in that sense. So I think that's
I mean,
part of it.
Chris, we haven't had Tyrone Mings for what, a month now, and
I understand that.
we
I
haven't been
understand
this
that.
weak against set pieces.
But and again, some of it is just good execution, though. Like that can be true, right? Like Leeds did very well in the like. I'm trying to think back. There was a moment in the game where I said to myself, I was like, God bless. It feels like every single one of their set piece
Yeah.
passes are dropping exactly where you'd want it to be, or it's the exact ball you would want to play. So I want to give credit to them for executing very well. Now, I don't know the answer in terms of what Villa need to do better for defending set pieces. But something needs to change. And I don't know if it's communication, lack thereof. I'd like to say lack of fluidity between the side, but it's pretty much the same back four that it's been for like 4 years now. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I do know that Leeds created a lot of very good chances out of it, and Villa were probably fortunate to only be down the one goal at the half.
I think so. Yeah, I point the finger at scheme. This continues to be a thing with Unai Emery throughout his career. We've noted it multiple times on this podcast, so I won't do it again. Unai Emery does not set up well to defend set pieces, and part of that I believe is because he is trying to set up the counter. So a couple more guys will release. There's a little bit more focus on collecting the ball and ultimately distributing it as opposed to just kind of clearing it out. So you get someone, not necessarily just focused on heading the ball out, but how to actually create an opportunity out of it. Obviously, that is probably more likely to fail. To your point about, being lucky to be down 1-0 at half, I'll just point out by the 33rd minute, touches in the box, Leeds 8, Villa 1. And, part of that was continued struggles, but I will say maybe some glimpses of optimism from the guy that seems to have a segment every single week for us, and that is Ollie Watkins once again.
For me, he didn't do enough throughout the game, to be honest. I don't want to pile on because there's plenty of noise out there with him right now. I saw one prominent Villa Twitter account, and I'm not going to name it, but say that we are one striker away from being Champions League. And like the worst part about it is I couldn't necessarily argue that point, So it felt like Watkins got a few more opportunities, but he seems hesitant. He seems to over dribble. He took the ball to the left quite a bit, which in some spots I was okay with because he was creating width in a channel down the left. But he's also not going to score from there, So I want him in positions to score. And the best chance Aston Villa had in the first half was Matty Cash firing from just outside the box, and he just missed it wide. So, like, once again, our best goal scoring option for 45 minutes came from our right back, and like that's great. I love that Cash is so willing to fire the ball in now, because he's gotten a couple of goals from distance. And it like I've always said, I think that's a good thing, and his confidence is a good thing, but he cannot be creating the best chances for Aston Villa in any given 45 minutes of football.
No, you're right. I mean, look, it's great to have a right back that can bang him in like that, but I'm gonna stand on business with Ollie Watkins. So the past several weeks, I have had the position that everybody who's saying, "Oh, Ollie isn't getting opportunities, Ollie isn't getting opportunities," that was because he wasn't taking the half opportunities and creating opportunities out of them, right? He wasn't shooting to create the stats that say that there was a shot creating action or whatever it was. He was too hesitant. At least on Sunday, he was shooting. Now, again, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel. Before prior seasons, it was like if Ollie doesn't score at all, it was a horrific thing. Now we're kind of saying, well, at least he took a shot. So that kind of shows how far Ollie Watkins has fallen. But I will look at, the 26-minute great ball by Matty Cash. Ollie actually gets his head to it. A couple seasons ago, I think he buries that upper 90. He hits it straight wide. 45th minute, he makes the pass to Morgan Rogers. Ollie has that long range effort that goes wide. So I commend him for taking some different types of shots as opposed to just trying to get the tap ins. So got to give him credit for those. And yet you still have instances like in the 19th minute, Powell has the challenge. I think Rogers finds McGinn, who slips Ollie through, and he just doesn't even get a toe on it. Rodon is able to come over and cover. You want him to at least control that and try and get something out of it. And yeah, if we move ahead to the second half, I'll just say he came off in the 67th minute of a 1-1 game where Villa seemed to be in the ascendancy. And so I ask you, Chris, is that kind of an indication that Unai Emery might finally be losing a little bit of patience in Ollie Watkins, or at least a little bit of faith in his ability to convert when he gets the opportunities?
I mean, maybe because we're coming off of a break, right? And I know we're heading into a busy period of fixtures, but coming off of a break in which Watkins was not named to the England side, right? So it's not like he needed the rest or anything like that. So there could be something to that, but I'll continue to say that I think that Unai Emery doesn't really think like that, like you and I do, or like most people do, because if that were the case, if he were losing faith in players, he would have benched Morgan Rogers at some point in this run, right? And Rogers consistently continued to play every minute of every game almost. So
Well, I think
But
that would say that he didn't lose faith in Morgan
well,
Rogers. What
but
we
why?
might
But
have
why though? But why though? Like, what would be the difference? Because Rogers played pretty poorly for a stretch there
yeah.
too, right? So that's all. That's what I'm getting at. But I don't know. Watkins needs to. I said it the last pod, and I think the pod before that. We haven't done a pod for like 2 weeks, but um, I said it the pod before that, and the pod before that. This team is not going to be where we want it to be unless Ollie Watkins or someone playing the number 9 position starts scoring,
Yeah.
because you can't succeed in the Premier League in Europe without an out and out striker. It just doesn't work. So the fact that Villa sit where they are is a testament to the team and a testament to the manager and all that stuff. But we need Watkins to start scoring goals if we want to finish if we want to finish in Champions League places. Watkins has to score.
It's a testament to the team. It's a testament to the manager. I think it's also a testament to how poor the rest of the league has been, bar Arsenal, so far this season. Everybody seems incredibly fallible. So let's give Unai a little bit of credit here. And his substitutions worked, and he didn't wait to make them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I read something interesting, and I have a theory for you, Chris. Leeds apparently has only scored 1 goal after halftime this whole season. 82% of their goals have come in the first half.
It's crazy.
And you saw how relentless they were running, pressing, all that kind of stuff through the first 45, and how slow and methodical Villa were as per usual. Now, Villa always plays slow and methodical, tries to dominate the ball.
Yeah.
That being said, the switch is coming on. Maatsen for Luka Dean, and Daniel Malin for Emi Buendia.
Yep.
The one thing you can say with both of those is that they are a huge injection of pace over the guys who came out.
Mm-hmm.
And so and they are much more attacking minded as opposed to both of those guys who we would say give a lot more effort defensively.
Yep.
So I would posit that Unai's whole approach to the game, being away, knowing Ellen Road is a tough place to play, knowing how kind of first half dominant Leeds are, he said, let's go defensive. Let's go slow. Let's control the game for 45 minutes. Let them tire themselves out. And as long as we can get to halftime within touching distance, we can then turn on the Jets and take advantage of a tiring Leeds United. I think that's what his strategy was. And I think it worked perfectly because, 46th, 47th minute, Daniel Malin immediately breaks down the right. Some great interplay with Cash and McGinn over there, and finds Morgan Rogers with a beautiful touch for the first goal.
Yep. I think that's a good theory, and it makes sense. It's a bit of a risk, if your idea is to just soak up pressure essentially for 45 minutes. And like I said before, Leeds executed very well, and they really mucked the game up. They made it very physical, especially in the midfield. I feel like John McGinn had someone hanging on him every time he had the ball. But part of the strategy to do that, part of the reason you do that is when you're physical from the outset, the referee generally will let you get away with a little bit more because the tone is set and it's just a physical game. And that certainly happened in this game. It was an extremely physical, difficult game for Villa to maintain possession. So again, I want to give credit for Leeds for the execution in the first half. And I agree with you. I thought the subs, Emery didn't hesitate to make them. Obviously, they came on at half, and they were immediately effective. And Daniel Malin just continues to have a wonderful season. And I wonder what it's going to take for him to start regularly, because at some point, I think the player is going to want to start, and he's going to come to the manager and say, I deserve a starting role here. And at times he's the best player on the pitch for Villa. At times he's the worst. At the same time, I saw a tweet.
Well, and so that's exactly it. I think you were gonna point out, what was it, the Patty Power tweet
Yeah,
that was like,
yeah,
sometimes Daniel Mallon looks like a Ballon d'Or winner, and other times he looks like he's seeing a football for the first time in his life.
yes.
I he is the epitome of what I'm saying Ollie Watkins isn't doing, in that Daniel Mallon is creating his own opportunities. Look at the 69th minute. That ball is kind of like lasered at his chest
Nice.
back to goal, but he finds the space, settles that, is able to kind of drop a shoulder, turn around, and get that left-footed shot that ultimately scuffs wide, right? Um, what is it, 83rd minute, he gets that run out on the left, crosses over in front of the defender, I think it was Strike, and fires way too high and wide. Like finishing is awful on that one, but he gets the ball and he creates the opportunity for himself. And I think that's the thing that Ollie Watkins is not necessarily doing consistently enough.
Sure.
I'm not both of those opportunities will tell you that Daniel Mallon is not a polished finisher. Like, he's still someone who probably needs somewhere between 3 to 4 opportunities a game to finish one or two, but at least he's getting in the mix and creating those, because you get one that fires off the goalie or off the post, and you get another tap in or something like that. Like,
Right.
that galvanizes the whole team, as opposed to someone who doesn't want to shoot, kind of just cuts out towards the corner, cycles it back around, all that kind of stuff. That's what I'm looking for Ollie Watkins to do. 67th minute, I thought Unai made other great changes. You get Barkley and Sancho on for McGinn and Ollie Watkins. That was when Ollie ultimately came off.
Yep.
Jadon Sancho, listen, has he been great so far this year? No. I remember one worthwhile effort that he made. I think it was in the Man City game. Was he beat Nunes along the byline and probably should have scored. The one thing that he does do, though, that I appreciate in this game is width.
I knew exactly what you were going to say.
We got the first goal, and Villa, from that 67th to, let's say, 85th kind of minute, were just dominating everything, because he actually stayed inverse to Leon Bailey, high and wide on the left-hand side, and actually made the Leeds defense defend the full width of the pitch. And Villa just looked so much more incisive, so much more creative, actually able to work the ball in to those central areas, to Daniel Mallon, to Morgan Rogers, things of that sort, because Jadon Sancho is actually dragging defenders out wide.
Yep, exactly. That was the thing that he did that was effective in the game on Sunday. It still wasn't his best effort, and it still seems like he's not quite sure how to play within Unai Emery's system at the moment. But I can appreciate at least the fact that he's stretching the defense horizontally, and that made a difference in the game. And Villa, like you said, really did dominate for that 20-ish, 15, 20-minute stretch there. And it really felt like Villa were going to go on and get their second and probably take this game home, and that's what ended up happening.
I will say, Jay, before we get to the goal, Jadon Sancho looks a lot better playing with Ian Maatsen than he does with Luka Dean.
Well, that makes sense too, right? Because
Yeah,
Maatsen makes
overlapping.
yeah.
Maatsen kind of cuts inside, whereas Sancho can stay outside, whereas like Luka Dean wants to do the overlap and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, just wanted to call that out. That could be kind of a consistent left-sided combination that we see moving forward, especially during this period where we're going to need to rotate a lot. So, Chris, talk about this completely unimpressive free kick from Morgan Rogers.
So I like Emi Buendia a couple weeks ago. That was one where I jumped up out of my chair when I was watching it, because that was incredible. And I saw some comments online where they said that the keeper should have gotten to it, because it was so slow, and he has to react better than that. The keeper is going the wrong way, because no one ever expects you to put that ball on from that distance with no spin on it whatsoever. I mean, it was a perfect knuckleball from Rogers, and what a kick. And him going to celebrate with McPhee, and he mentioned afterward that it was Buendia's free kick a few weeks ago that inspired him to do this. So they're practicing on these free kicks more. So it's just another level to his game and to Villa's game now. If you've got these guys that are competing in practice to see who can score a better free kick, that's a good thing. And just goal of the month, maybe like Buendia's before him. It was if you can't appreciate that goal, I don't know. I don't know if this is the sport for you.
Because it's not for Bridget.
It's not. No, it's not. That's fine. She played
I
it in high school, though.
I cannot emphasize enough how difficult it is to get the ball up and down that close to the goal. Like near impossible. Like I still don't fully understand, even with the knuckleball, the physics of how that's done. If we have multiple Villa players who have that in their locker, we're gonna score so many free kicks this season. Like genuinely. It was fun to see Morgan Rogers celebrate with McPhee and to shout out Buendia at the end saying he's kind of the master, but Rogers isn't bad at it either. Yeah, just what a goal. To wrap this one up, Chris, Villa ride a bit of luck to see it out. 87th minute, what a save by Emi Martinez on a bullet header off of another free kick that Villa can't defend.
Couldn't believe he got to it.
Yeah, had some bad fouls by Matty Cash in the 94th. Ross Barkley with a lot of misplaced passes since coming on, kind of took a step back from recent weeks for him, but ultimately doesn't matter. Villa see it out, 2-1 win. So in terms of good points, we're riding high. We'll start good and bad to bring us back to lukewarm. Another come from behind win. Once again, showing a little bit of mettle. I also thought you mentioned it briefly, but I want to give him an official shout out. I thought John McGinn was excellent on Sunday. First half when Villa were really struggling to get out of their half. Typical ability to get the ball, hold it up a little bit, try and release people. Had a fantastic effort right before he went out that just went high and wide. So want to just shout out the captain once again. And yeah, I think we named everything else. Anything else from your end on the good points?
I just want to point out that Villa have more wins from coming from behind than anyone else in England right now. Villa have 3 wins in the league coming from behind.
Wow. So look at that.
Yeah.
Bad points. We said it before, but I'm going to say it again. No shots on target for a whole half against a squad that we probably tip for relegation at this point. Like you said, lucky to go into the half down 1-0, probably could have easily ended 2-2. So listen, we said it before, Opta's expected points table still has Villa as 19th when we're sitting fourth. And so Chris, I think you could look at regression to the mean in 2 ways. You could either say Villa are performing poorly, outperforming expectations. So the regression to the mean is going to be Villa dropping back down the table and losing some of these games that they otherwise have won. I believe the expected goals on Sunday favored Leeds as well, like 1.9 to 1.2.
Yeah.
Or regression to the mean could be, hey, this Villa team is pretty solid. They're getting results when they otherwise shouldn't. And the performances are only going to get better because that is the quality of the player. I think you probably say it's going to be the latter.
I would hope.
Probably say it's probably going to be a little bit more of the former just because I trust what I've seen. And I think probably the truth is going to be somewhere in the middle. Will Villa regress a little bit? Yes. Will they regress all the way down to, middle of the table, bottom half? Probably not.
Right. I think the larger implication, like if we're looking at the table now, what you said earlier really comes into focus, that the rest of the league is also not playing particularly well, and everybody has bad days, right? I mean, Villa had a bad day against Liverpool, and everybody else is beating the brakes off of them, right? So right now there's one team clear of everybody else, and it's Arsenal. I think City will end up being there. But outside of that, I don't see any great teams. Chelsea, maybe. I don't know. But so if there's a year to have some results go your way and end up sitting in a good spot, this could be it, I guess, is what I'm getting at. And I
sorry, keep going.
I do think that, like, we need to account for the fact that Emi Martinez has played largely very well now since the last international break before this one. He looks more like the Martinez of old, and the defense, by and large, has been very good and much more well organized than we saw last season. So that last season we had a lot of goals given up that ended up costing us, and they were silly goals or stupid goals. And luckily, we had the offensive firepower to come back and get a point, get 3 points, something like that. Now we're seeing the defense really carry us through matches where the attacking side of the team doesn't play well for the first 45. But again, on the whole, I was pleased with the game on Sunday. I knew that Ellen Road, and just like you did, Ellen Road is a tough place to go and play. I predicted a 2-1 win to my father-in-law, and I can show you the text with timestamps if you'd like it, because he asked me a prediction since we didn't do a pod, because he is our most loyal listener. He was distraught and thought that he missed one. But I, on the whole, I'll take 3 points on the road anytime you can get it, especially in a tough place to play like that.
Agreed. And, we're sitting fourth right now. I think Opta's computer predicts us to finish fifth with something about 61 points.
Yeah.
To your point about everybody being bad, I do think that this is a year kind of like the last time we qualified for the Champions League, where you probably won't need as high a point total as some other years. So, listen, we're sitting fourth without necessarily playing our best ball consistently yet this year. And if we, like you said the other week, it's almost frustrating to think about the start that we had now, because if we even got a couple of those,
if we scored a goal in the first 4 games
for a title. I mean, we are but forget a striker away from Champions League. We could be a striker away from title contention if we had one from the start. But listen, that's neither here nor there. We're sitting on a high, and so as we kind of ride that towards Thursday, I'm going to try not to make an uncouth joke here and just say we will look ahead to Young Boys on Thanksgiving here in the United States, which is an early, by the way, everybody set your clocks. It's an early Europa League fixture. We're in the 12:45 window, not the usual 3:00. Chris, this is an interesting one. So obviously we played Young Boys last year in the Champions League, and yet, despite being in the Champions League last year and still qualifying for the Europa League this year, they really seem to be a club in turmoil. We played when they were managed by Patrick Rahman, who was fired after just 99 days and the worst start to the league this century. He was
Brian
replaced.
Clough-esque there, right?
Yeah. He was replaced by someone else who didn't even last a year, also just got fired at the beginning of October.
Shout out
And
someone
now
else.
they have re-brought in Gerardo Sewan. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I'll say that's it. Who is back at the helm, led them to multiple titles from 2018 to 2021 before leaving for the Bundesliga. I believe it was Leverkusen and Mönchengladbach that he managed. So, we can look at their style of play and some of their results and metrics so far this year. I'm not sure how predictive they are going to be. They're currently sitting second in the Swiss league, but Gerardo, however you pronounce it in Swiss, I guess they speak French, but has only been in charge for 4 matches. They got crushed by PAOK, PAOK, 4-0 in the Europa League, but they've won their league matches 4-1 and 5-0. So at least in the Swiss league, they've only conceded once since he's been brought in. That being said, thus far this year, they've definitely been a high risk, high reward outfit. So they're leading the league with 30 goals scored. They also are 7th out of 12 clubs with 23 goals conceded.
That's a ton.
It's a ton in 14 matches. I mean, that's almost 2 a game.
You're upwards of 2 a game. Yeah. So you would think coming off of that there are going to be some chances for Villa, but new manager, newish. He's been in charge for 4 games, so we don't know exactly how that's going to go. We can all admit that the Premier League is better competition than the young boys are seeing in the Swiss league. That's I don't think anyone would argue that point. I think what are you laughing at?
Just the hard
So
hitting analysis that you had right
no,
there.
I just
Premier League is
no.
harder than Swiss League.
I'm just saying that even if they're more shored up defensively
Yeah,
under new management, that it's a different caliber of player that they're going to be facing on
yeah.
Thursday on the greatest American holiday of Thanksgiving. But I what I expect is Villa to have lots of chances and hopefully take this game by the scruff of the neck and win it. That's what I want. That's what I hope to accomplish. And that's what I expect to some extent. But I mean, you never know how these things turn up, and Villa don't always have the best starts. So if young boys come out and get a goal early and Villa are chasing the game, then we're talking about a whole different ball of wax.
If Villa are chasing young boys around all day on Thursday, we got some big problems that we need to talk about, Chris. All I'll say about the new manager, very direct style, tries to get up the pitch quickly and score. I mean, who knows if they've really got the players to execute his preferred style, but that is how he likes to play. Especially with this being at Villa Park,
Yeah.
you would expect them to try and shore up defensively. I don't expect them to try and come out and play. Last year, I believe we played in Switzerland, right? And still wiped the floor with them. It really was not competitive pretty quickly. Listen, I think that Unai Emery will probably rotate a little bit.
Yeah.
And I still expect Villa to comfortably win this one.
So what do you have for a lineup then?
Yeah, so I think we'll still have Emmy in goal. It does seem like, as much as we do rate Marco Bizot, if Emmy is fit, he plays. I think that we'll see Matty Cash at right back. I think that we might actually see Victor Lindelof come in at right center back, give Ezri Konsa a break, Pau Torres left center back, and then I think we'll have Ian Matson in there as well. I think we'll have Bogard and Yori in the midfield, so Kamara gets a little bit of a rest. I think we'll see Emi Buendia again after only playing 45 minutes on Sunday. So Emi Buendia, Morgan Rogers. I think John McGinn will come to the bench. He seems to be getting a little bit of rest here and there, although his early exit has me a little wary of that. Maybe he does play. But I will say Emi Buendia, Morgan Rogers, Jadon Sancho, and Daniel Malin up top.
Okay. We have pretty similar lineups. I have Marco Bizot in goal, though. Back four is the same. Bogard and Tielemans, just like you. I have Sancho, Rogers, and Gasson as the midfield three. I don't know if that's going to be what they do, but I think that Emery's going to see this as an opportunity to rotate and get some players some minutes, and Daniel Malin up top as well. I can see him going with your lineup over mine in the spots where we were different. Like I said, I think this is an opportunity to rotate and get guys some meaningful minutes. I don't think we're going to see Harvey Elliott. I think he is in the side though I think he's in the squad, I should say. I don't know that we're going to see him on the pitch anytime soon, or at least not starting.
I don't think we will either. Gasson is a good shout, and I did give him some thought. I'm a little confused what to think of him, honestly, because early on this year, it seemed like Unai Emery seemed to really be trying to force that one, despite his performances, trying to get him to play through it. And we said repeatedly that that might be because of his defensive effort at the very least. And yet, over recent weeks, it seems like he's completely fallen out of favor. Unai Emery's kind of done with that experiment, not trying to force it anymore. So I don't know kind of where he sits in the pecking order anymore, but I agree with you. This would be a good game to get him some minutes and maybe
Yep.
try and get him a goal, get him acclimated a little bit. Elliott is an interesting one because you might have seen this in the Twitter sphere, but I think a lot of our listeners have not. There is no recall clause in Harvey Elliott's contract. As far as we know, there's only the 10-game gameplay maximum. There has been some reporting that Unai Emery didn't really want Harvey Elliott as much as he kind of said the right things when he came in. Ultimately, he wanted Lucas Paquetá. When that fell through, Monchi kind of swooped for Elliott at the last minute, which I think
And
we
now
all thought was
Monchi's not here, though.
fine. And now
Yeah.
Monchi is not here. So, I do wonder if and when we will see Harvey Elliott again. I commend his attitude. He has not made a stink. He said
Right.
all the right things in interviews. Whether he winds up staying at Villa or not, I won't have anything bad to say about him.
Sure.
Wasn't the player that we needed, but didn't cause any problems. Seems to be a good professional. So, whatever.
Yep.
I am very curious to see what happens in January with him if maybe Villa and Liverpool just find out in alternate way to kind of cut this thing out early with maybe a couple million payment to Liverpool.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't seem to make sense for Liverpool for him to be here if he's not even getting in the squad.
Well, I think Liverpool's thing by making the appearance thing so low, they thought this was a guaranteed deal for
Yeah.
30 million. And essentially what they were doing probably was to say, hey, we'll get 35 million for him. We just need it on our books at some point. Villa, if it helps you with PSR to push that payment out until January or next June or whatever, so that it hits like a different fiscal year, fine. We'll kind of structure it to make it out then. Liverpool don't necessarily want to get a player back with a year of no first team football under his belt because there's no chance that someone comes in with another $35 million bid or £1 million bid next year. So
Correct.
I would imagine the negotiation is going to be something along the lines of like, listen, increase the loan fee by a few million so we feel like we get something. Then we'll allow you to cancel it. We'll bring him back and we'll try to find another home for him.
Yeah. That makes sense. And I mean, like you said, to his credit, he said everything right. He doesn't complain in the media, and you and I both agreed that it was a curious move to bring him in the first place. So he doesn't seem like the player that Unai Emery wants. So I do hope that that he finds somewhere because he's been so professional, but I don't think it's here. And the other reason that he's not seeing a lot of minutes is much of the other many more players in the midfield have started to play very well. Rogers, Buendia, obviously. McGinn's been pretty much unplayable. Daniel Malen, there's four right there that he has to outplay to even see the pitch.
Agreed. So, Chris, clearly we've glossed over Villa's tactics because we don't really think they matter all that much. I think that says what we think about young boys.
Just be better. Like those are the tactics. Be better.
Listen, if Villa do their thing, if they control the ball, if they're able to kind of pin young boys back, take advantage of maybe young boys overcommitting a little bit with that aggressive attack of theirs, should be no problems, even if they rotate. So I'll go first. I'm predicting a 2-0 victory. I think with the rotated squad, Villa have not proven to necessarily blow any team away yet this year, but I do think that we will have a comfortable victory. I don't think it'll be like 4-0 or anything like that, but I think a good 2-0. We'll get the second early. And
I have a 2-1. Yeah, I have a 2-1 because I have us conceding one. Hopefully not first, but I have us conceding one. I do feel like if Villa concede early, it's gonna be an interesting atmosphere at Villa Park.
Yeah, it'll get tense. I agree with you. All right, man. Well, I checked, no YouTube shout outs.
Yeah.
So anything for you on?
No, there's been a little bit of engagement on Twitter, but not much, and I will continue to do it because I enjoy it, and I enjoy tweeting the rules of the FA at the FA and how they misapply them. and for the record, I don't think that Paul Tierney actually willfully ignored the rule, like didn't I just, as you and I have said for the 3 seasons we've been doing this podcast, it's just incompetence. They're just they don't know their own rules. And so we're drawing lines at somebody's elbow, even though the FA rule book clearly says you don't account for arms. So it's just fun. I enjoy tweaking people's noses and having fun like that. But if you do want to come on there, we'll have a chat when I'm able.
Everybody is always welcome to come on and chat with
Slide
us.
tackle into our DMs, right?
There it is. There he is. All right, man. Well, safe travels this holiday season. We will talk sometime later this week.
I was gonna say sometime post Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Yeah, probably post Thanksgiving next Sunday. We'll have another pod out. So unfortunately, no preview for next weekend, but c'est la vie holidays.
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening. And Chris, as always, up the villa.
Up the villa.
Hi, Mom and Dad.